The Greg Kelly Show.
Hey, welcome to America, Frenchie. Pardon me. Emmanuel Macron. What is the fascination with his wife? President of France just showed up at the White House. He's there right now. I tell you what I'm fascinated by with the wife. He met her when he was in 8th grade. Actually, 7th grade, and she was like 34. Now, in America, you get arrested for that, right? But over there, the French are kind of laid back in certain ways, especially sexual mores. And quite an arrangement that was. Hey, a lot of movement on Ukraine. I talked to some people this weekend. I really probably annoyed them. I didn't mean to. But I look, I want the Ukraine war to end, right? I want it over. And these people, they're really on Ukraine's side, and I understand that. And one of the people was of Ukrainian heritage, and I understand that. You're rooting for your team, but I'm like, this war's got to end sooner or later, right? And they're like, yeah, but you can't give Russia any territory. I don't know if that's realistic. I do know this. This is my strong sense. Now, I'm an amateur, and I'm coming out at this. I'm not a diplomat, but neither is Trump for that matter. But he knows people, and he knows all the players. He knows Putin. He knows Zelensky. Nobody at my table over the weekend had talked to these guys. I think you got to butter up Putin a little bit. He's been a pariah for the past 3 years, right? Everybody calling him a war criminal. Oh, my God, this is the worst thing in the world that's ever been done. I mean, I don't like that he did it, but haven't big countries been invading smaller countries for like a long time? Especially a country that sees another country as part of its country. I don't know. I can't get as upset about this as people tell me I'm supposed to be upset. And some of the people telling me I'm supposed to be upset, and I hate war, all right, but I'm not fighting in it. There's always been war. Unfortunately, there will always be war, maybe. Does that make me a bad person? I don't think so. It makes me a human being. It makes me human. So Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, who, oh, by the way, gets a lot of credit for actually pulling the trigger on getting rid of CQ Brown. Isn't it amazing? Not everybody would do that. I know I said some stuff early on, but I tell you, that's water under the bridge. I like what I'm seeing. From Fort Bragg to the NATO stuff to this termination of not only CQ Brown, but Admiral Franchetti, the woke maniac who was running the Navy, some crazy deputy, the deputy vice chair of the Air Force, who was a lawyer, who was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. This is good. This is needed. So he showed up on the Fox News Sunday show. There are a lot. It's a little bit dynamic right now. And it's not my big passion issue, to be honest. There are other things going on. This war's been going on for 3 years. We've been doing other things, right? We move on with our lives. And so does Ukraine, by the way. I've seen the video. You have too, probably. Ukrainians in Kyiv going out to disco dance. That jerk Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, going over there to a coffee house and playing the guitar. Life even weirdly goes on in Ukraine. All right, but let's lay it out here, all right? I want to hear from the top. Let's hear from the administration. Hegseth himself on the Fox News Sunday with Shannon Living the Dream Bream. Go ahead.
Joining us now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Hey, Shannon.
Okay, so let's start here. Tomorrow marks 3 years, an anniversary of the start of this war. Russia apparently is planning to declare victory tomorrow. There are propagandists who say they're going to share messages that the West essentially abandoned Ukraine. I mean, how does the U.S. and will it counter that messaging if that's a victory lap Russia tries to take?
Well, Vladimir Putin can attempt to take all the victory laps he wants. The reality is the president is focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's stopping the killing and the destruction across Ukraine and ensuring an enduring peace. So both sides are going to make a lot of claims, and the president has very directly engaged both sides in real time. There's bilateral negotiations with Russia, which, by the way, no one else has been able to do. Joe Biden was never able to bring Russia to the table for actual peace talks. Only Donald Trump. He's the only man in the world that would be able to do that. He's also engaging directly with Ukraine. There's going to be bumps in the road in these conversations when you're seeking a historic peace. And ultimately, our role is to do just that, and President Trump is doing that. So I don't need to get into the characterization of, we know who invaded who. We understand the stakes of this game. America, more than any other country in the world, has invested in helping Ukraine defend itself. Now it's time for peace, and that's what the president is dedicated to.
Why has it seemed that there is some reticence to say who invaded whom or who's responsible for this? You know, there are questions about reports that a G7 statement, the U.S. opposed calling Russia the aggressor in that statement. And also, there are these warring resolutions allegedly at the UN. The U.S. wanted to essentially water down what Ukraine is trying to offer. This is what the Wall Street Journal reports. The Ukrainian draft pins the war's cause on Russia and calls for a peaceful solution this year built around a Russian withdrawal from Ukrainian territory. The U.S. resolution makes no reference to who started the war and makes no specific demands of the Kremlin. You know, your former colleague, my current colleague, Brian Kilmeade, pressed the president numerous times on this on Friday, and he finally did say, okay, Russia attacked. But why does it seem there's some hesitance to say that?
My question is, does all the finger pointing and pearl clutching make peace more likely? That's the enduring question the president is asking. He wants peace. And if that's the case, you've got to stare down the Russians and Vladimir Putin and who they've chosen to negotiate and have earnest conversations about difficult things, about security guarantees, about 2014 borders, what those will look like, about NATO members. Same thing with Ukraine, constructively and productively. So standing here and saying, you're good, you're bad, you're a dictator, you're not a dictator, you invaded, you didn't, it's not useful. It's not productive. And so President Trump isn't getting drawn into that in unnecessary ways. And as a result, we're closer to peace today than ever before. And I've been privy to these conversations. Great progress is being made. Zelensky should come to the table because this economic partnership is an important thing for the future of his country. And we hope that he will very soon.
But
hey, hold on a second. It sounds like a lot of common sense here. You know, you can go around raging about Putin being a war criminal, and that may make you feel morally superior or whatever. But what did I think Khrushchev? No. Kissinger called this the real politic. You got to deal with the way the world is, not the way you want it to be. And if this kind of language will get somebody to the peace table, you want to hang up about what the hell, who the paragraph at the UN, or do you want to get some stuff done? Keep going.
Russia attacked unprovoked into Ukraine 3 years ago tomorrow.
Fair to say it's a very complicated situation.
Okay, we'll leave it there. You have said previously that Putin is a maniac. You've called him a war criminal. How would you describe him today?
He's someone we're negotiating with to end a conflict. What I said as a private citizen has no bearing on what, as Secretary of Defense, my job is as far as the characterization of a regime. I need to make sure our troops are ready. I need to be able to give advice to the president vis-a-vis future military aid, the posture in Europe. But I'm not driving these negotiations. I mean, Mike Walls and the Secretary of State and the Vice President and others are directly involved in these discussions. We're going to get to peace. But what the defense secretary thinks about Vladimir Putin is more or less irrelevant in this. I want peace. I want the killing to stop. I'm going to play my role. And Donald Trump is leading it. And we're closer today than ever before.
Hey, stop. That's sound. Very sound. And a great way to handle the question about, I said some stuff on a podcast. Who hasn't said something in a podcast? Half the world. Pearl clutching about, oh, my God, somebody said something on a podcast. Somebody said something on a podcast. America. More about what you say than about what you do. No, it's about what you do that's really important. All right, does it get to CQ Brown next? The woke mutineer general? Keep going.
Have a role, though, on the world stage to say, this is a bad person. This is a dictator. This is an aggressor. Do we have a responsibility to say that?
No.
Well, we have done that plenty of times. And it's not...
Biden did that. That's enough. That's enough.
Crazy statement.
Sorry.
To say there was an incursion into Ukraine. There was an invasion into Ukraine. Everybody... I mean, it was previous administrations who said a minor incursion and then welcomed Vladimir Putin, took that as a signal of weakness and entered. The other thing to step back on Ukraine here, Shannon, that's really important, every part of this discussion for President Trump is from a position of strength. The perception from Vladimir Putin that Donald Trump is strong and means what he says has driven them and the Ukrainians to the table with an opportunity for peace. There's nothing weak about it. It was Obama and Biden that allowed the Russians to take land, take territory, and be aggressors. Donald Trump never has. He's going to bring peace that nobody else would be able to do.
Okay, so a couple of deals trying to come together here. One that would end the conflict, but a separate one with the U.S. and Ukraine potentially about rare earth minerals.
All right, stop. We'll get to the CQ Brown part, all right, because I am kind of curious about that. However, I predict it will just be niceties about CQ Brown, and we're moving on. That's the appropriate thing to do. The hard part's been done, all right? The stuff that took guts has been done. He's gone. He's gone. Did you see the Trump speech over the weekend? I got to say, I actually missed it. There's so much. I didn't sit through it. I didn't. And I forgot that it was on. It was on Saturday afternoon. So let's go through it, shall we? CPAC, Washington, D.C., President Trump, cut 22.
Thinking we're going to have so much money coming in from tariffs. Oh, you're going to say, your senators and your congressmen are going to say, please, sir, please. You're making us look so bad. We have so much money coming in. I didn't know this was going to happen.
Gordon Chang, our China expert, who I believe lives in New Jersey. He's always coming around WABC. Great guy. Acknowledged by POTUS, cut 23.
Is that Gordon? Yes, is that Gordon? The great Gordon Chang? Is that Gordon? Stand up, Gordon. Wow. We have everybody here today.
Yeah. Hey, Gordon Chang may be the ambassador to China or possibly a big job at the CIA. Keep an eye on that. One more. So MSNBC, the racist Joy Reid will be gone soon. Lester Holt, the fake news guy, will be gone soon. Who else is left? Norah O'Donnell, gone. Chris Wallace. Wallace. Everybody hates Wallace. Now, is he right here? Is MSNBC or MSDNC a threat to democracy? Interesting thought. Cut 24, please. Cut 24.
They really lost their confidence. I watched them. They're really screwed up. I watched this MSNBC, which is a threat to democracy, actually. They're stone cold mean, but they're stuttering. They're all screwed up. They're all mentally screwed up. They don't know what. Their ratings have gone down the tubes. I don't even talk about CNN. CNN's sort of like, I don't know, they're pathetic, actually. But MSNBC was mean. Their ratings are absolutely down. This Rachel Maddow, what does she have? She's got nothing. Nothing. She took a sabbatical where she worked one day a week. They paid her a lot of money. She gets no ratings. I should go against her in the ratings because I'll tell you, she gets no ratings. All she does is to talk about Trump, 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 Trump. All different subjects, Trump this, Trump that. But these people are really, I mean, they lie. They shouldn't be allowed to lie every night. They are really a vehicle of the Democrat Party. They should be paying.
Yeah, they should be. But you know what? You are allowed to lie. You shouldn't be. I mean, well, actually, you should be. All right? You can say whatever the hell you want. You can say, if you want to say goofy, freaky stuff on MSNBC, that's okay. That's okay. Let's let the market take care of them. No rules, no laws, okay? The laws of decency, you hope, will prevail, but they certainly don't over there. This Joy Reid leaving, though, is a watershed moment, although I never really understood watershed. I know what it means, like it's a big deal moment, but why do they say watershed? I'll know by the time we get back.
This is the Greg Kelly Show.
With his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song.
Oh, boy. One of the greatest songs ever recorded by Roberta Flack.
I heard he sang
Well,
a good song.
Absolutely
I
gorgeous.
heard he had a
Roberta
son.
Flack, everybody, is dead
And so I came
at the
to
age of
see and
88.
listen for a while.
Let's see here.
And there he was, this young boy, a stranger to my
All right,
eyes.
stop. It's too emotional for me. It really is, actually. That beautiful song, I remember my mom playing it time and time again on our stereo set in the corner of the living room at 757 Sprague Street, Baldwin, New York. And the echoing of that music and the words and the story, I could follow it even as a little kid. This song came out in the early 70s. She died en route to a hospital, according to Suzanne Koga, her manager and friend. Hey, do me a favor. There's another song. We'll go out on it, okay? Where is the Love? It's a bit more upbeat, okay? Even though the words are kind of sad. She died en route to a hospital, cardiac arrest. She revealed that she had been diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, a couple of years ago. After spending almost 10 years as a Washington, D.C. school teacher and performing nights downtown, Ms. Flack zoomed to worldwide stardom in 1972. After a version of her song, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, was featured in a Clint Eastwood film. I remember that. That was Play Misty for me. To be honest, the song was so much better than the movie. That movie was weak. The movie really had no business. They had no business using that song. Especially because Clint Eastwood had like 4 girlfriends, and they made it seem like it was so poignant that he was making love to this one particular girlfriend. The song was sublime. Clint was a dog. The song had been released 3 years earlier on her debut album for Atlantic Records, but came out as a single only after the film was released. What else about her? I think she lived at the Dakota, possibly. And I saw her perform live once at the Blue Note downtown. She was amazing, and she told really cool stories. This is all the way back in the late 90s. The thing that I really can't stand is that the waitress came around to hand out the checks right in the middle of Killing Me Softly. Right in the middle of the song that people came to see, that's when they handed out the checks. And afterwards, the waitress, she confronted somebody. I see you didn't leave a tip. Was there something wrong with my service? I chimed in and said, well, you interrupted Roberta Flack. That was an issue. Very beautiful. See what I mean? Upbeat. But very sad. Upbeat tempo, sad words.
You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all fairness, he doesn't have a clue. What he was so bad for.
Oh, wow. All right, so Donald Trump speaking some tough talk about the whole Ukraine-Vladimir Putin situation. Now, a lot of strategy is going on, a lot of posturing, and that's okay as far as diplomacy goes, right? General Holt, the great strategist, the great pilot. He retired from the Air Force. Now he shares his wisdom with everybody. Blaine, how you doing?
It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me back.
You bet. I love calling a general by his first name. You insisted that I do that.
Please do. I've been called far worse.
So, look, what's going on here? I mean, he is saying things. Number one, I feel like he's buttering up Putin because Putin needs to be buttered up because he's been dissed for so long in this whole process. And it probably is a very smart thing to do. What do you think?
I think it's a very smart thing to do. And a lot of people freaked out that Ukraine wasn't at the table in Saudi Arabia. It had nothing to do with Ukraine. It had to do with the United States and Russia starting to talk to each other again. And quite honestly, there's some fence mending that has to go on there because you have to have a partner across the negotiating table that you would view, okay, they're negotiating in good faith. If I don't believe that, then I wouldn't be at this table. And so he's setting the stage for these negotiations to go through. Some of the mean tweets are truths. If I were the advisor, I would say, hey, could we not do the diplomacy and make sausage out in full view of everybody? But I do understand also President Trump trying to put pressure on the Ukrainian government because there's two voices in Zelensky's heads right now. One is Trump saying this has no military end to it. You have to get to a peaceful solution, and it's got to be negotiated. That's one. Two is the Europeans who are doubling and tripling down on more war to the end of time. It's only a matter of time before we drag Putin to his knees, and let's just have more money and weapons. So those are two very, very different visions about what should happen next. And by applying the pressure you see publicly on Zelensky, that is having an effect in local politics in Ukraine because they are taking a pause going, wow, what has this relationship with all of these World Economic Forum heads of state netted us in the Biden administration? Should we really start listening to somebody who's got a history of making deals and a history of working with Putin, and maybe we can get to at least some semblance of a better place? You can't get around the military realities that have happened over the last 3 years.
All right, now a couple of quick things. And I just want the damn thing to be done. I really don't have a stake in this. I guess everybody tells me,
both.
Right? I mean, I know, but people talk to me like, oh my God, how could you say that about Putin? I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of used to the guy. I mean, I don't know. There are bad people in the world. He's a bad guy. What are you going to do? I mean,
right. Exactly.
So, but let me ask you this. Apparently, we have ruled out a couple of things. We've said it out loud. Ukraine can't be in NATO, and Ukraine is going to have to give up some territory to Russia. Now, was that a bad thing to say out loud? Because apparently everything is supposed to be on the table when you start a negotiation, and now it looks like that stuff isn't. So was that a mistake?
No, it's not a mistake at all, because here they may seem like an overture to Moscow, and maybe Moscow is interpreting them that way, but that is now the United States position. The United States does not support NATO membership for Ukraine, which is hardly ready for it. They'd become a welfare state instantly, and if they did it while they were in this war, at best they could turn it into World War III. And so what we see now is you've got the European heads of state that are saying, well, under the peace plan we see, we want a 150,000 soldier peacekeeping force from Europe, and then the United States will backstop us with their air power. It's like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. So then we're just one false flag away from being sucked into World War III. And and the Russians have already made it very clear that, no, we're going to get to a final settlement, and there's not going to be a bunch of foreign soldiers running around.
Okay, well, look, as long as everything's making sense. Oh, and one other thing. All right, so right now America's talking to Russia, and we're talking to Zelensky too. They didn't go to one meeting, or what's his name, General Kellogg, right? General Kellogg is talking to Zelensky, who's still wearing that silly sweatshirt, by the way.
That's true.
Hey, one other thing about that.
Yeah.
Now, so I was like, I was with some people. It's like, Zelensky canceled all the elections. And they're like, well, yeah, but Churchill canceled all the elections, too, during World War II. And
right.
To be honest, I didn't have a good comeback. I felt, is that true? I'll check on that. And I did check on that, and it's true. There were no elections during the World War II for Britain. So, I mean, just how bad is this? I mean, is he a dictator or not? It seems still bad. I want to know more about the Churchill situation. It seems really bad that there are no elections, even local elections, parliamentary elections, not to mention presidential elections. That's bad, especially when everybody says that Ukraine is this great democracy.
Yeah, so going back to Churchill days, it's set aside stuff we don't have to worry about right now, because you had every man, woman, and child wanting to take out the Nazis, and you have a completely unified country. Here we have a country that says Zelensky's polling at 57 to 64% popularity in the country. Little problem with that is that those polling companies got all their funding from USAID. Suspect. President Trump says that their internal polling indicates it's a heck of a lot lower than that. So do the Ukrainian people support President Zelensky? Well, we're never going to know that because we just don't have honest polling on it. But what he should have done, and early in the war, they declared martial law, they canceled the elections, and they made it so that they couldn't talk to Putin because our Constitution now says we can never negotiate with Putin. How ridiculous is this? So now we're caught by our own knots we wove early on in the game. What President Zelensky should do is encourage discussion amongst at least inside his internal government, and listen to other voices just besides the folks like Boris Johnson, Keir Starmer, and Ursula von der Leyen, who are like, no, this is a gravy train. Keep it going. We just want to see more war and more weapons and more money flying all over the place. Greg, what people miss is there's more people killed here ever since World War II. That this is the most deaths from war in Europe, over 1 million dead since World War II.
Yeah, more than Vietnam and the rest. Hey,
Vietnam, 56,000 soldiers.
It's crazy.
That's a drop in the bucket compared to this. This is a horrendous. And think of the decades and decades and decades that these scars will be in generational hatred.
General,
this amazing.
Amazing. Stand by. Trump is talking about this right now.
Sure.
That's not an easy thing to do, is it? Right? It's not easy. Just asking whether or not you can take back the land that they lost. And I say that, yeah, perhaps some of it, yeah, I hope so. But that's not an easy thing to do.
Macron on the frozen
It's going to be something we're talking about.
Will you convince Vladimir Putin to accept the European troops as peacekeeper? What do you think?
Yeah, he will accept that.
He will accept
I've asked him that question.
You talked to me?
I've asked him that question.
Is France going to lift the block on the $300 billion?
Look, if we do this deal, he's not looking for more war. He doesn't mind, but I've specifically asked him that question. He has no problem with it.
Is France going to lift the block on the $300 billion in frozen Russian assets in Belgium? France has opposed unfreezing it to pay Ukraine and compensate the U.S. for its support. Is France going to lift its opposition to that?
This is, we speak about frozen assets. We already used them to back precisely the loans negotiated.
Hey, I never heard Macron speak English before. Very decent of him to speak English. Sometimes they don't do that. They refuse to do it. General Holt, another quick question on this Ukraine thing, and then we got to go on to the general who got fired, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes I say, and people lose their minds, look, big countries have been invading small countries since the invasion of countries. I just could never get that worked up about what Russia did. Russia believes Ukraine is part of Russia. And there are a lot of other people who believe that. I don't know. And then I hear about Nazis in Ukraine, and I don't know what. So I just didn't think it was the biggest deal in the world. Does that make me a bad person, stupid person? What's wrong with me?
No, it doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you an American who recognizes that maybe America doesn't have vital interests here, as hard as that is to fathom. The point is there's so many people that want to believe that history in the Russian-Ukraine story begins on the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and that nothing could be further from the truth. We're in a sea of broken promises where from James Baker on, we said we'll never go east with NATO. Well, we did. And then we get to the Maidan revolution where it turns out maybe our intelligence community's got some equities in that revolution going south. Constant warnings from the Russians every step of the way. I don't support what Putin did. It was wrong. Should have still been in a diplomatic channel. But at some point, the Russians said, that's it. They're not listening. And this Minsk agreement isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Guess what? It was Hollande and Angela Merkel that confirmed that. So here we are. And no, this is still not in the vital interests of the United States. But it is in the interests of our allies, and that's why we're there, backing up our allies and partners. But they can't turn around and see us as the ultimate arbiter and the piggy bank for all this. We're just not going to have that. So that means that President Trump is the most influential in the world at getting this thing to the end. And he's insisting with guys like Macron and Keir Starmer, you're going to listen or you're playing with fire.
Fascinating. Hey, let me do another thing for you. This is CQ Brown, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, just got fired by President Trump on Friday night. This is a reminder of what CQ Brown sounds like when he wants to let loose a little bit. Cut 10, please. Cut 10.
I'm thinking about my Air Force career, where I was often the only African American in my squadron, or as a senior officer, the only African American in the room. I'm thinking about wearing the same flight suit with the same wings on my chest as my peers, and they being questioned by another military member, are you a pilot?
So CQ Brown had a bit of an emotional breakdown after George Floyd died. I mean, he should have retired right there. He should have been fired for talking about all this race stuff out of the blue. He had no business doing it. And that's a little bit, we'll talk about that flight suit thing in a moment. What's your reaction to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff getting fired?
Yeah, it's a very healthy step. And I say that quite unemotionally. He was a backer of the DEI initiatives. This is championing Marxist thinking. You weaken our military when you get away from meritocracy, and that's the bottom line drive out. Should he have been fired back then for the George Floyd comments? Yes, because it's a mischaracterization of a military career. We have been, you and I served at the same time, Greg. We've been colorblind for a very long time. If he was the only black man in his squadron at the time, well, I'm really sorry that they didn't have it balanced out. He felt the need to have other black men there. But quite honestly, as a pilot in a squadron, could care less what your color is. It's always been that way. In my time, at least in the military, it's can you fly the jet? Can you save lives when it comes down to it? Can you put the bombs on the target? And he knows well that that's true. And I've known him since he was a major. And he's known well that that was true. So to pull out some fishy-eyed story about how he's been a victim as he gets to 4-star rank, tell me what it's like to be a 4-star and a victim at the exact same time. I'm sorry, I just don't get it.
That's amazing. By the way, and also, let's face it, the flight suits, and I saw this in the Navy and even in the Marines a little bit, lots of people get flight suits. And I mean, I can't tell, right? I mean, you don't have to be a pilot in the Air Force to have a flight suit. They like lots of guys who wore flight suits in the Air Force other than pilots.
Exactly. And listen, I would, like I said, people will call me Blano and they're like, oh, is it okay if I call you Blano? It's like, yeah, the Air Force gave me that name, not me. And I've been called far worse. If you're in a military career, don't be precious about somebody misreading your name tag and saying, oh, are you a pilot? It's like, yeah, I'm a pilot. I'm probably the best pilot there is. You come up with that instead of being the victim. Again, you promote a victim culture, and that's what DEI is all about the individual, not the team. And the Air Force, the fly, fight, and win Air Force is all about the team. And don't be the rusty nails sticking out saying, I'm different, everybody kowtow to me. It's, no, we put bombs on target here, or we put troops on drop zone here. That's what we do.
Amazing. Blaine Holt, we so appreciate your insight, your experience, and all that good stuff. All right? Thanks, pal.
Thank you, brother.
Or should I say Blano? What a great call sign. Blano. I don't know if that is a good sign. Was that your nickname in the Air Force?
Yeah, they gave it to me. I had no choice.
It doesn't even mean anything. Blano. What was there a joke or a story?
At the end of it, hey, Blano, you're going to fly on the third period. It's like, okay, but my name is Blaine. And then every instructor around went, oh, you don't like that. Okay, well, then it's
That's right. They take a weakness and they exploit it. We love it, though. All right. Thank you very much, General Holt. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
Man, it's kind of funny, this President Trump grabbing Elon Musk. I'm not Elon Musk. What's this guy's name? Emmanuel Macron, the president of France. He comes to visit him. Trump grabs his hand and yanks him all over the place and won't let him go, and just like yanking him, his whole body around with the hand. Trump totally dominates him physically. There's got to be something going on here. I'm looking at he every time they meet. In 2017, he grabs him and like throws him all over the place. In 2024, he did it again in front of the palace, just grabbing him. And then he did it a few minutes ago, and you can tell Macron like wants to get positional advantage, and whatever he's trying to get, he doesn't get. He loses it. And you can see the look on his face, and Trump is just totally controlling the whole guy. I don't know. I've seen Trump do this before. I've never seen a guy react so uncomfortably. Oh, there was that guy from Japan, maybe. All right, who is it? Dean. Hello, Dean.
Hi, how are you? I just was wondering what your thoughts were, if there's any viable Republican candidate to take on the mayor's race here. It's going to be Cuomo in November, like Andrew Giuliani. I love Curtis and all, but he doesn't have a shot.
What do you mean he doesn't have a shot? How dare you say that? How dare you say that?
I love him. He's smart. He knows everything about the city, but the shtick, I think, doesn't resonate with the voters, like in the last race.
The shtick. You call it shtick? That's who he is. It's true blue stuff. That's Curtis. I actually think he can pull it off. I think now I've always told him the Republican brand in New York, maybe there's I don't know. I think he can do it. I think you got it. Then again, you're in Huntington, pal, right? You're in Huntington. Is that where you are?
Yes.
Hey, what the hell's going on in your house?
Oh, I'm picking up a kid from school.
Already? It's not even 2:00.
I had to get up. She's only 4. That's why.
Nursery school.
Nursery.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I think you're selling Curtis short, and I think he can actually do it. I really don't like that it's going to be Cuomo now. All right. That's starting to anger me, actually. He's just going to walk in there because people know his name. We can't have that, Dean. We can't have that.
You think Andrew Giuliani has a chance?
No, I don't, actually. I love Andrew, but I don't think he can pull it off, even though he is a gifted campaigner. The guy's good, but he's got to get something under his belt before he runs for one of these big jobs. But he's a great guy and incredibly talented. He just needs one. He's like one big job away, and then anything is within striking distance. Thank you, Dean. Oh, hello, Sandra. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Greg. How are you?
I was thinking about you yesterday. I know you were a little bit sore at me for a while, but that happens when you call in AM radio every day.
No, I'm not sore at you.
You were sore for a while. You were definitely sore for a while.
Okay, well, let me tell you how I feel.
Yes and no.
I listened to you. No, I wasn't sore at you.
Even the time I yelled at you, you called me. What'd you say? Greg, isn't this nice? It's the 1-year anniversary of our book party that we had for you. And I'm like, wrong, right. It was 2 years.
I was offended at that a little bit. But I
know. I feel bad about it. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did that.
No matter what, I listen to you every day. And when you say over and over that you do not like Eric Adams, I have to listen to you because you know more than most, and your father too. And you must have good reason when you say what you say. So I wrote him off, even though I liked that he was going along with Donald Trump.
But Sandra, you're just like Dean on Long Island. I mean, he can't vote in the election. You can't vote in the election. I mean, what difference does it make if you write him off or not?
My sister can, my family can, my friends can, and they listen to me when I talk. So here's what I'm saying. I wrote him off because of you. I respect your opinion. If you say no, I'm going to go with that. So I say, who then? Not Cuomo and not whatever his name, Juan Williams, but I do say yes to Curtis Sliwa. And then that man called and said he doesn't have a shot. That's the problem. We have to start doing what you just said to him. He does have a shot, and he should win, and he could win. And that's what I'm saying, Greg. I think we ought to promote him more and give him a little help.
Well, I'm doing everything I can. I just endorsed them, you know what I mean? Well, I'm not even supposed to endorse people. I take back my endorsement. I'm technically prohibited from saying the word endorse about candidates. So I don't endorse him, but I really want him to win, and I'm going to vote for him. But I don't endorse him, all right? There's a difference. Look, Curtis has got to do his own work too, all right? A lot of this is on Curtis, and he's up to it.